And that's what we love about Brisbane. While we don't have a crystal ball and we have absolutely no idea what's going to happen there in the next year or the next 15 years, what we're certain of is people are earning good incomes, people are moving here at the moment, there's strong infrastructure. They're expecting Brisbane to be the size of Sydney and Melbourne in 27 years, the Australian Bureau of Statistics, at 5 million people. We know that the jobs are being created up here at the moment. We know that a lot of people are moving north, and we think that, or what we love about the city is just these pockets in between the places that have already gone off with a lot of potential. G'day guys, it's Ben and Simon here from Pumped on Property, and we're super excited to give you a full update on the Brisbane market, to separate the hype from what's really going on, and to give you a handful of incredible suburbs that you can start to research more and take a look at yourself. Now, in the last 5 years, Simon and I have helped our clients from all over Australia buy over $250 million worth of property in Brisbane. We know the city as good or better than anyone in the market, and we're super excited to bring that info to you today. So for those of you that have been on the fence about Brisbane, there's some really exciting stuff happening. According to CBA at the moment, it's looking red hot. They're expecting 9.5% growth in houses over the next year, with maybe a 6.5% to 7% increase in 2022. On top of that, we now have over 1,000 people a week, which is the fastest population growth rate we've seen in Brisbane in a decade. And that's resulting in an undersupply of available property for rent. So what we're seeing is vacancy rates coming down across the city. And in many of the suburbs we're going to explain today, the vacancy rates are as low as 1%, which means you're finding a tenant almost immediately the day that the place is going online, or within a couple of weeks, worst case scenario. On top of that, incomes in Brisbane have jumped dramatically in the last 5 years and now higher per household than they are in Melbourne. And we've got an unprecedented investment in infrastructure coming. Underground rail, we've got the airport on the Sunshine Coast. We've got a bunch of hospitals being upgraded at the moment, a bunch of schools as well as some light rail coming through the Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast markets too. So we're super excited about the fundamentals of this market, not to mention that it's been flat for almost a decade, and it's coming off, unlike Sydney and Melbourne, which is sitting up here right now, a very, very low base.
So what we're going to talk about is a bunch of the different suburbs that we really like the look of. And we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different areas throughout the market, because just like all markets, Brisbane isn't just one whole market. There's obviously sub-markets. So we're going to talk about closer to the city. We're going to talk closer to the beaches in the eastern side of Brisbane. We're going to talk about some of the areas we like down the south, and also some of those areas to the north. So let's kick it off with some of those areas closer to the city that we like.
Now, what's happened in Brisbane is that in the last 10 years, particularly within 5 kilometres of the CBD, those particular suburbs have absolutely gone off. Now, that's really the only part of the city that has really increased in line with your Byron Bays, your Sydneys, your Melbournes over that period of time. And then you get just a couple of Ks further out than that, and all of a sudden the price difference between some of these suburbs can be $500,000 to hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if we look around that sort of city centre that hasn't gone off yet, there's an incredible suburb 6 Ks from the city on the southeastern side called Cannon Hill. Extremely affordable housing for the quality, great infrastructure, great school districts, extremely high income earners. When we jump across to the north side, you've got your likes of your Wavell Heights and your Kedrons. Now, these are renovators or builders' absolute dream suburbs at the moment. You've got, particularly in Wavell Heights, 80 to 100 groups of people rocking up to a weekend. You've got somewhere between 10 and 20 offers on every single property, but you've got this massive disconnect between unrenovated or knocked down houses and the really nice Hampton style beautiful homes selling in the suburb. Now, some of these places can be purchased for as little as 800 or 900K at the moment at the time of filming this, with some of the properties reselling for the $1.6 to $1.7 million mark already. So that's sort of like a Mercedes brand name in Brisbane. You've got a lot of properties with beautiful city views. There's great streets in these suburbs, and there's some average streets as well. You've got some really good rent returns on offer there as well, comparative to the price. So that's one we'll definitely be keeping our eye on this year.
This is is your premium blue chip types of suburbs that just are a little bit closer to the city. And yeah, so much pressure on the market in those particular suburbs at the moment, but still long ways to go in our opinion.
For sure. So if we move from there to the northern side of the city, which we're massive fans, you've got a whole bunch of different options. So you've got some suburbs a little bit further away than your Wavell Heights and your Kedron, sort of in that 8 to 14k radius, like your Arana Hills, your Ferny Groves, which represent great value. That's more like the family, mum and dad, similar to like the eastern side of Melbourne, or the western side of Sydney, or the southern side of Sydney. And then as you go a little bit further out from an affordability perspective, you've got a beautiful new university being built in Peachtree. It'll house 10,000 students within 10 years, has a train line that takes you straight to the city. You're only 20 k's from the CBD, and there you can get beautiful big houses on massive blocks for well below 500k still. So that's a cool option if you're looking for an affordable one. Otherwise, you can slide up to the northern beaches, all the way from Sandgate through to Scarborough. Represents incredible long-term buying. There's dead set suburbs there, the same distance as Cronulla, or a little bit further away than St Kilda in Melbourne, which you're getting for 30 to 40 cents in the dollar in comparison to your Sydney and Melbourne prices right now. Lots of renovations, lots of knockdown rebuilds happening. A bloke recently paid over $12 million for a house in Scarborough, and you could buy the street back from him right now for under 600k. It's just insane.
So moving down to the south side of Brisbane, absolutely love what's going on down there at the moment as well. There is lots of infrastructure development, lots of upgrades occurring to the major arterial roads and some of the train lines. A lot of gentrification starting to occur as well. So down the south side, you can get properties that are sort of 25, 30 kilometres from the CBD for below $400,000 right now, which is just insane. And these are areas that are, you know, driving distance or short couple of kilometres away from a train line, couple of kilometres away from major arterial roads. It literally only takes you about 30 minutes to drive to the Gold Coast, 30 minutes to drive to the CBD in Brisbane, 20 minutes to the airport. And you can get amazing investment grade properties there on nice big blocks of land. And similar to the north side, you've got these different suburbs where, you know, one suburb may just have those slightly higher quality demographics that have already begun to gentrify, where you've got good schools, good amenities, nice cafe culture. There's universities and hospitals down there, which is amazing. But then some of those areas just a little bit closer to the city, you can get sort of 19 to 20 kilometres away in a place like Rochedale South, which has just got some of the best schools in Brisbane nearby. You've got beautiful nature walks nearby and a huge nature reserve. And seriously only takes you about 15 minutes to get into the CBD with no traffic from that area.
So we like the south side. They're also favourable around dual occupancy down there. So for those of you looking at the moment based on the current town plan, that sort of dual income, it could be a good option to look at on the south side at the moment. And then we come across to the eastern beaches. So obviously the beaches unfortunately aren't the same as the beautiful ones we see in Sydney.
Definitely don't have the waves like Sydney do, but it's sort of more like your Brighton Le Sands or some of the Bayside suburbs down in Melbourne, where you've got beautiful esplanades along the water. You've got a couple of little swimming holes and things like that. It is quite nice.
So some of these suburbs down there are like absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful homes, lots of knockdowns, lots of renovations going on in the likes of your Wynnums, your Manlys, and then your Wynnum West and your Manly West as you come back towards the city. There's also a incredible little suburb called Tingalpa, which is only 10 k's in the city, has a train line, very, very close to the beaches, but also really connected to the city. A lot of people have forgotten about that one. So little areas like that are sort of diamonds in the rough. And that's what we love about Brisbane. While we don't have a crystal ball and we have absolutely no idea what's going to happen there in the next year or the next 15 years, what we're certain of is people are earning good incomes, people are moving here at the moment, there's strong infrastructure. They're expecting Brisbane to be the size of Sydney and Melbourne in 27 years, the Australian Bureau of Statistics, at 5 million people. We know that the jobs are being created up here at the moment. We know that a lot of people are moving north, and we think that, or what we love about the city is just these pockets in between the places that have already gone off with a lot of potential. Some of these places in the south are legitimately, when you take out inflation, cheaper than they were 10 or 12 years ago. And, you know, that is why we like the city. That's why we've been really targeting it for the last 5 years. And that's why we're super excited to continue to invest here for the next 3 to 4 years as the market ramps up.
So obviously we've all got different property investment goals and we're all looking to employ different strategies. But what we love about Brisbane is there is a vast variety of different options. You can look at your sort of $300,000 to $400,000 range. It's going to yield you somewhere around 4 to 5% on a single income property. Or then you're looking sort of a little bit closer to the city where you're looking at a slightly higher price point, but things are looking really, really nice closer to the city, especially with those demographics. And now we're seeing heaps of people moving up from Sydney and Melbourne with that big cash from their run down there. Then you've got further to the north where you're sort of looking at your $400,000 to $500,000 range and still getting good yields. And that's what I really love about Brisbane as well. You're getting decent cash flow because it's been so flat for such a long time now. The cash flow is a lot better and the yields are a lot better than those areas down in Sydney and Melbourne as well. So obviously you can go out there and do all of the suburb research yourself, and there's so many amazing suburbs depending on your strategy. But for us, we do work with just a small number of people each month where we help them learn a little bit more about the Brisbane market, help them develop a strategy depending on what their short and long-term property investment goals are. And then we also actually help them get into the market purchasing a quality investment property.
Yeah, so if you're interested in something like that, just jump over to www.punkedonproperty.com, book a time in with myself or Simon, and you know, we can share more about the market and you can take that information and go and buy yourself a great investment with that information you pick up, or you could become one of those small number of people we work with each month and you can leverage off the $250 million worth of experience we have in this market, take advantage of our relationships with agents and get yourself an absolute cracker. But either way, we wish you all the best. As always, stay safe. It is an environment at the moment where people are going to start doing some pretty silly stuff over the next 2 to 4 years. So protect yourself, make sure you're in a strong financial position, talk to your accountants, talk to your financial advisors, and go out there safely and hopefully set yourself and your family up with a good outcome in Brizzy.
Oh, sweaty, so sweaty.